welcome to another episode of the Personalisation Experience podcast. My name's Richard Askam, and for a change, the sun is in my eyes, which is really rather a nice change given the time of year that we're at for recording this. So my guest today is Justin Cairns from Ogilvy. Hi, Justin, how are you?
Good afternoon, Richard. I'm well, thanks. Thanks for inviting me to come on.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I know the sun isn't quite as shiny where you are today, but
No.
I'll try and make up for it. So
thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
And Justin, for those of you that are listening at home, Justin works for one of, if not the largest advertising agencies in the world. Is that right? Where
one of the largest, yes. Ogilvy, yes.
Yeah. So that hopefully sets the sort of perspective for what we're going to be talking about today. And we were very lucky back in May at the first version of the Personalisation Experience in Munich that Justin came along and spoke at the event. And that was your first time really at a FESPA event as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, I had my eye on attending for quite a few years actually, so yes, I'm really glad I went along, and I've become a little bit of a FESPA fanboy, really. It's having been. I'm certainly looking forward to going back to Amsterdam next year. It really was staggering the technology that was on show and the capabilities, and I personally took a lot from it, and it's translated back into our business or our creative department. I've gone, yeah, you can do that. It's like, really? Yeah, you can do that. It's brilliant. So yeah, I took a lot from it, and it was a really interesting experience for me.
And that's really one of the main reasons that we launched the Personalisation Experience as a conference within a show, because FESPA is a 4-day show, and it's probably what I would describe as one of the grand slam events of print around the world, one of the biggest print shows in the world. But the individual sort of conference track that we tried to create last year, and we are repeating again, by the way, in 2024, was to take all of that, oh my God, I didn't know this was possible, and boil it down into what does that actually mean. And one of the reasons that we were really keen to have you there at the last event, Justin, was to bring an agency perspective to these possibilities, because one of the things that we find a lot is the print industry and the brands are separated by the gatekeepers, which is the agencies, the owners of creativity. But if they don't know what's possible, how can they possibly inform their client? But it opened your eyes, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to steal a phrase from our experienced executive creative directors, Johnny and Angus. They say advertising is the pickup line, experience is the relationship. And I really like that, because obviously brands want to have get to know their clients and have relationships, and to do that they need to personalize, they need to communicate on a one-to-one level with their clients. And yeah, that's knowing that it's not just ink on paper, it's ink onto many things that you can do, and also not on an industrial scale as well. It's on a, if you want one of those, you can do one of those. It was really interesting.
It's quite interesting to me, Justin, that the print industry has evolved and so fast technologically, and in many ways almost beyond its customers' understanding of what it's capable of. And it needs to slow down every now and again, I think, and almost explain what it's capable of to not just yourself and the likes of Ogilvy, but actually direct to clients as well. I often hear, oh, we had no idea you could do that. And it always strikes me as strange that a business that develops the ability to do something then doesn't tell anybody.
Yeah, there was one talk at the Personalisation Experience that I really enjoyed. It was by Christophe Clermont at Printess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was his headline was that printers are tech companies, but they just don't realize it yet.
Yes.
And I thought I really liked that. And I came back to the office and was talking to one of our creative directors about that talk, and she was saying, yeah, it's true. She went, that the print industry is just like Adobe, really. It's they're enablers of creativity, and it's part of our job is to look at a client's problem or client's challenge, and then work out the best way to communicate that. And by knowing that there's these various print production methods available, that enables us to answer our clients' briefs far better.
And that's been the big change, and I'm sure something that you saw at FESPA for firsthand was the ability to scale down production now
Yes.
has actually got a greater value than being able to scale up, because largely industrial, kind of everybody could do that if they spent enough money on the kit. But actually, it's the bit that where you can be nimble. And we talk about a million ones,
Yes.
a lot in the world of brand marketing. That gives you the chance with your clients to try something that they previously wouldn't have been able to do.
Absolutely right. And I think by being able to sort of personalize one-to-one on a much lower volume means you can test, you can try stuff out, and test and learn. But also, I mean, there was one, I saw one exhibitor that I took their technology back to the office, or their knowledge of what they can do back to the office. And an example was we did 500 products from what they could do. We've done that another 6 times now. So we have a very happy client as a result of seeing that technology.
It is quite interesting that print is a very old industry. We know that. It goes back thousands of years, but it's always, I guess, its trajectory has always been able to maximize output and minimize cost. And I've said a million times that if the first conversation that you have with a new client is how much will that be, you should put the phone down, because it shouldn't be about cost. It should be about value. And print, of course, delivers that in bucket loads, and personalized print even bigger bucket loads, because we as consumers, we like that sort of stuff. We like the feeling that somebody's put thought into what they've sent to us or given to us or created for us.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of connection is where personalization's value truly sits, is in that emotional connection. And whether that's a huge brand wanting to talk to, one individual, well, why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah. I think the value of print as well. I mean, I'm just thinking of our vice chairman, Rory Sutherland, who said, if you got invited to 2 weddings on the same day, and one invitation was via email and the other invitation was via a gold edged card on lovely paper and a beautiful envelope, he says he knows which one's the cash bar and which one isn't. So he knows which one. So he knows which wedding invite he's going to sort of take them up on the offer and attend. And I think sometimes we do get obsessed by cost, and I think talking about scale, sometimes it can be off-putting. But this is the great advantage of the being able to do much lower volumes, in that you can have a premium product or premium source of communication, but without the mega budget that perhaps might have been there in the past.
Yeah, it has a higher unit cost, but a lower print run, and therefore, for my budget, it worked absolutely. And I don't know any walk of life where any element of what you try and portray, and you mentioned wedding invitations there, and really this is all about that. Come and see what I am. Come and see who we are, as a brand or as a product or whatever. Why would you try and do the worst job that you could do just to save money, and then use that as your way of saying hello?
Yeah. I think you've just, this really, absolutely.
There's no logic there at all. I mean, I can remember the days, Justin, and the reason I got into personalization, by the way, all those years ago, 20 years ago, was the things that you used to get, and you've maybe seen them as well. Well, get a pen with your name on it. Just buy 1,000 pens, and you can have a pen with your name on it. Like, they really need 1,000 pens. and that was where my mind went to. I wonder how much it costs to make one pen. So we kind of did the process and worked out actually it was about 30% more to do one pen than it was to do 1,000. But then we sold 1,000 wands.
Wow, really? Okay.
So ultimately it's about putting in front of the customer value, not cost. And I think, and hopefully you saw this in your first visit to FESPA this year, that's what the print industry is actually trying to do.
Yeah, and I'd also say the key word there is relevant as well. Getting to know people, or getting to know your customers. I mean, in the creative department, one of our creatives say, when communicating with our brand's customer or our clients' customers, don't tell me you know me, show me you know me, is a phrase that when she's working on a brief, that's something that she's always thinking of. Like, yeah, okay, you're communicating with me, you know my name, but show me you know me. Like, it's
your name is the least personal bit about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think it's a mistake a lot of brands continue to make. Given that it's 10 years ago since Share a Coke really sort of broke the glass ceiling on
Yeah.
this whole notion, that there are still brands in the world, and that's fine, by the way. It's not a criticism, it's just a commentary, that are still thinking that it's enough to just stick your name on something and that will do. One of the things that we established last time at the personalization experience, Justin, was that personalization means different things to different people, and so there isn't a ubiquity that you can just all pile into. What would you say when coming away from that event? And I know you were there for 2 or 3 days, and you spoke at the conference, as I mentioned. But what would you say were your key takeaways from it as a visitor, as a first time visitor?
I think it might sound a little bit of a dramatic
Go for it.
statement, this, but I think I came away thinking, when it comes to print, pretty much everything's on the table. Everything's possible now. And I think taking that back to the creative department was a real eye opener for them, where knowing that you could, as we said, you don't have to print, on mass and industrial scale. You can actually print a couple of these things and it can be highly creative, and not just that, the quality of it as well is really premium. So I mean, it felt like, to me, I've never been lucky enough to go to South by Southwest, but it felt like FESPA really was a Prince version of South by Southwest. It's the tech that was but I've never been, so I can't compare it, but I hear a lot about South by Southwest. But it felt that was the kind of tech that was on show, and the capabilities. So it dare I say it, print felt fashionable again. And I know some people might not like that, but and I'm a print geek. I'm a huge advocate, but it can be difficult sometimes to encourage people to consider the print channel as the best way to communicate. But yeah, I felt excited
Good.
about
Well, that's
yeah.
that's great. Whenever you go to any of these events, I think, and you mentioned fashion there, and of course, fashion is a cycle. As we all know, by my daughter is wearing flares again. I think she's doing it for the first time. So we know that, and I think if print understands its place in that cycle, its job of work, as far as I can see, is to make sure that at any point on that cycle, it is informing its market of where it is on that cycle. And if it's aligned with where its market is, boom, that's the way to make money from print. So you're here representing one of the biggest and largest creative agencies in the world. What's your one piece of advice that you would give to anybody listening to this today around the world who's a FESPA member? What would you say to them as how to engage with what they see as the unengageable, the agencies of the world?
That's interesting. It upsets me a little bit to hear that people might think that agencies aren't open. I think we don't do a very good job at opening our doors to outside suppliers sometimes, partly because we're incredibly busy, but so is everyone else. But and I what would I say? Creative agencies have to produce hard results for our clients. It's successful results for our clients. That David Ogilvy famously said, "We sell or else." But also, creatives are always looking for creative ways, I think, of communicating with brands, customers, and they also have an eye on creative awards as well. Now, creative awards are like the Oscars of advertising, and when you look at things like Cannes, D&AD, those kind of creative awards, I'd encourage people to look at those winners, who's done well, because whether it's digital, cinema, TV, print, a creative award is a creative award. And that's a big thing for creatives to win. So I'd encourage sort of FESPA members to look at who's won what in those awards, and then you've got a way in. As I said, don't tell me you know me, show me you know me. And if you're engaging with an agency that's won a creative award, you're sort of saying, "Oh, I saw you did that." That's a great way in to start the conversation. I'd hope anyway. yeah.
I like that. I like that. They should maybe remember at times that the phone makes outgoing calls as well as taking incoming ones. I think when they, there is a misunderstanding, and I appreciate the fact that it's upsetting when it's being leveled at your industry, that's where the misunderstanding sits. I think it's mutual. I think there is a genuine fear from printers who don't see themselves as creatives, talking to creatives who don't see themselves as printers, and yet you walk through the doors in Munich in April of this year or May of this year and find out actually that you're in the best creative space, the biggest creative space.
Yeah.
That day in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. There was so much to see and so much going on, and I'm not going to say this to anyone from an agency listening, but I think it gave us a competitive advantage, definitely, as an agency being there. But I don't want any other agency to go, because I kind of like selfishly want us sort of like that.
One way of solving that, of course, and that's telling Neil that you want to sponsor the whole event, and he'll be delighted with that. So we'll leave that one out there. I've said it out loud. Yeah. Justin, listen, thank you. You've been a great guest today. You were a brilliant speaker when you came to the Personalisation Experience in Munich. We hope you'll come back into Amsterdam in March next year. Tickets will be on sale soon for anybody that's interested. But for me, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Richard. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Take care. We'll see you soon.